Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Michael Fiddle. Fiddle's Picks on Twitter and the Action Network app. This is your Best Bets episode for Wednesday, April 9th in the association. I don't remember what month it was. It is the month of April because the playoffs are just 10 days away as you listen to this. We are 10 days away from sweet, sweet playoff action. Lines out in advance, props out in advance, no last minute questionable. Nope, he's out. Nope, he's in. Nope, he's out. It's going to be great. It's going to be phenomenal. We're excited to have it with you. As a reminder, on Sunday, at the conclusion of the NBA regular season, we will go live on Buckets on the YouTube page for Action Network at youtube.com/The Action Network. Fiddle's going to be with us. Sean Little's going to be with us. We're going to have guests. We're going to do live reaction to the series odds, prices, and game one lines as they come out. So if you want to get ahead of the market, if you want to get ahead of where these prices are going to move, if you want to get ahead of the analysis, we are where you want to start. Join us at Action Network's YouTube page at youtube.com/The Action Network on Sunday at the conclusion of the NBA regular season. I would give you a time, but it's the NBA, so it could be depends on timeouts and 700 stoppages and overtime. So sometime in the afternoon on Sunday, after everything is done, we will get that for you. We're going to start off today talking about the Nuggets, and then we'll do best bets for the Thursday slate. So I've talked a lot about the Nuggets. You can catch me on the Zach Lowe show at The Ringer. I did Locked On NBA twice today because of the news about Malone. I did an hour episode on Locked On Nuggets. I'm based here in Denver, and I cover the team and have covered them for the past 13 years, so I know them pretty intimately. Fiddle, I guess I would just ask you, what was your reaction? And what is the thing that you still think we that we don't know about the Nuggets? And then we'll talk about some betting angles.
Yeah, so I actually listened to you on Zach Lowe show and on Bucket. So I've heard Matt talk about this, and I'm sure we want to just keep getting more information from Matt because obviously he's super plugged in to the Denver stuff. I have a little theory about why this might be going on. So either throw some cold water on this and be definitely not the reason, or, open your eyebrows a little bit and say, you know what, there's kind of some thought process there. What if, and obviously Josh Kroenke, I believe that is the guy who's on the Denver Nuggets. They tweeted out from their team account a video of the owner speaking and being in an interview. And he mentioned two things that really caught my ear and made me start questioning this. Was he says that wins were masking other issues, and he pointed to the 8-game win streak prior to the All-Star break as saying there was problems going on, but the wins were masking the issues. And he also said we knew that it was going to come this summer. So I've been sitting on this theory, and then when I heard that, it was just bang the hammer. I think I nailed it. I think the only thing that would have stopped Denver Nuggets from pulling the trigger, and I think this applies to the same thing with the Grizzlies, is not a first round out where then you can explain and move on from Malone. What if Denver Nuggets made a finals run? And what if it was a wins would mask issues and the team was planning on moving on all summer and actually had to get ahead of it now and do it before the best player in the NBA potentially rides his team to the NBA finals? And if Denver ends up in the finals again, whether that's Jokic, whether that's Malone if he was still at the helm, whether that's Murray who maybe comes back healthy or not with hamstring, let's say it all goes right for the Nuggets at a time when it's seemingly all going wrong, then you can't really move on from Malone this summer, or everyone's going to be screaming at you like you're Nico Harrison. So it's just do you think that it was possibly just trying to get ahead of this?
I think with Calvin Booth, it was. I don't think they were trying to get ahead of moving on from Michael Malone. I think that if to let you know how narrow I think this is, if they had won the Wolves game, Malone's probably still the coach. Calvin wasn't going to come back anyway. His contract was expiring, and they hadn't come to he had turned down an offer from them. Calvin Booth had turned down an extension offer from them over money, and that caused a lot of problems inside the organization based off of how he reacted to that. So Calvin wasn't coming back, and the problem here, I think, is if Malone had managed it, if they won the Wolves game, if they won the Warriors game, just one of those. Didn't they need to be both? Just one of them. Malone's probably still the coach, and they're well, all right, we'll see. And then I will say, they were expecting to either lose in the play-in or in the first round. That was their, and they were so confident that that's the only thing that was going to happen, that that's what led them to making this move now, was to be like, all right. And the thing is, if they were going to fire Malone, they had to let Calvin go, because you can't then have it be like Calvin comes in and does some big moves, or like he continues working at the end till the end of his contract and then is able to kind of like get people in the organization on his side, and it becomes more difficult. So like this really was like okay, if one's going, the other one's going. They're both going. And I do think that was like a large part of it. And I wrote a lot about like how their relationship got so toxic that there was like distrust and factions inside the organization, and all that you can hear about. I wrote about that at a site called the Denver Dig. From a betting standpoint, here's what I'll tell you about the Nuggets. We'll get the best bets for Wednesday and how they're going to react in this specific game. David Adelman has the ear of the locker room. I will tell you, to a man, every Denver Nugget has always spoken not just highly of David Adelman, glowingly of David Adelman. He is the assistant that I have the most confidence in. No other changes were made to the staff, and I will tell you, I was surprised at that. There are other members of the staff that I would have thought probably would have been let go, but I think there was an idea of, we can't have a short staff trying to get through a playoff run. So because of that, now I think that there's still like a lot of questions. Now, one of the things that might be possible here is that Adelman is able to kind of take the reins and simplify things, because that's something that Denver very much wants defensively. The biggest question tomorrow night is what they look like defensively. They have looked lethargic. They have looked lost. They have looked not lazy, but like mentally lazy, where it's like they're not putting in the work to like focus and make the right reads and communicate. If any of those things look better tomorrow, then you'll see like some signs of life. And there's like, that to me would be very that to me would not be shocking to look at from that perspective, if they were to put that kind of effort in. I don't know if it's going to hold, though. They don't have the personnel. Michael Porter Jr., I think, is very limited, but physically and can't move. Jamal Murray is still questionable. They are still hopeful he's back for a first round appearance, and maybe he'll come back and look awesome. But Jamal's dealing with a hamstring inflammation that's affecting other parts of you. This is all to say that I'll tell you, like, I'm not buying Nuggets stock. I'm not buying Nuggets futures. I'm not buying Nuggets anything. I'm not buying in on Nikola Jokic Finals MVP. I don't want Nikola Jokic Western Conference Finals MVP. Do I think it's possible they make a run? Sure. 100, like, crazier things have happened in this league. I think it's entirely, they have Nikola Jokic, and they have a really good roster in the top 5. Their top 5 is really good. Honestly, probably top 6 is pretty good. But this is David Adelman as his first time as a head coach, dealing with all of these kind of things. I don't know how the team is going to respond. I don't know if they're going to check out. Most times when the team fires a coach, it's a signal of like, yeah, we're done this year. Like we'll make another run at it next year, but like this year, we're just gathering data. That's a signal that you send. This is a little bit different. I do genuinely believe that they want to try and compete. I'm just not sure the players are going to buy in. That's my position on any sort of Nuggets futures. What are your thoughts, Fiddle?
I don't really want to back them in terms of a betting angle right now. I'm willing to let it play out game by game. I mean, we're going to talk about backing them in the next game, specifically against the Kings, but that's different than futures and playoffs and rounds. You know, I would be okay taking Jokic, MVP props if the prices were right, because he's just such a consolidated stat sheet that if you can get that at a better number than Nuggets futures, then I would rather do it in the Jokic market, because if Jokic, like the only way they get there is Jokic putting up the stats. There's just simply no way, given the other issues around the team. The last 2 questions that I have, like regarding this news, and then we can completely move on, is, in a vacuum, Matt, does this happen? Like, yes or no, does this happen if the Grizzlies don't do what they did with Jenkins 10 days ago? Or does that move with the Grizzlies open up the possibility for the Nuggets to make this kind of rash decision?
No, I think it happens regardless. I think that this was honestly like Josh Kroenke's not wrong that it was masking problems. When they went through the win streak, it was like everybody was feeling good, but they were beating such bad teams, and their record versus good teams was so bad this year. It really was. And again, I want to stress that, like, even if they were winning, the reason this was coming was because of how toxic that situation had become.
Right.
Like, you can't have, it's to me, this is the thing that I still kind of struggle with. NBA players' lives, to me, seem very bubbled. Like, you have private transportation. You're with the team all the time. You have guys that carry your bags, to handle your equipment, to help you with whatever. Some of them have personal assistants that help them out with whatever. all of this happens. And you're in the locker room, it's very insular. But when things are going on in the organization, it does infect the locker room. And I'm always confused by how, because it doesn't seem like there's much interaction. Like, the players don't have to interact with anyone they don't want to. Like, their lives are set up to where they don't have to be bothered as professional athletes. That's a large part of like the protection that teams provide. But it really does matter. And the front office stuff had gotten really toxic and was impacting things and had gotten into the locker room. This week was really the first time that I saw as much. How can I put this? It wasn't like acrimonious, like these guys hate each other. It was more of just like they're all frustrated and lost, and they're all like, they all want to fix it but didn't know how. And that disconnect, I think, was very real. So no, I don't think that Jenkins was part of it. You have one more?
Last one is just, what's the level of faith in Adelson? Do you think they want Adelson to succeed to the point where succeed to the point where he takes over? Because looking back, and we said it right before we hopped on and started recording, I was like, Michael Malone's son of a coach. Like, David Adelman is son of Rick Adelman. Yep. Like, it follows a very similar mold of what the Nuggets just had an incredible decade of success with. And so I'd wonder if it's just like, yeah, we actually hope this guy completely succeeds and leaves us no other option besides interim to head coach.
Yeah. They've got Rick Adelman, son of a coach. They've also got Ryan Saunders as their defensive coordinator and assistant coach, son of Flip Saunders. He's also on staff, former Wolves head coach. So I think that Adelman will be given an opportunity to impress, and he'll definitely be among the candidates, and that giving him this opportunity, I think, was part of the equation for them to kind of be like, let's see what happens with Adelman. Adelman is a hot commodity on the market. There are at least 2 teams I know of that will not only interview, but interview like with an intention of looking very closely at the possibility of hiring him this summer.
Got it.
The Nuggets might be one of those teams. What I will tell you is that my experience is, if David Adelman is hired as the new full-time head coach of the Nuggets, then that means that Josh Kroenke is the one that is making the calls and is making the decisions, and it's based off of his reputation and his relationships with David Adelman and the relationships that Adelman has with people in the organization. If Stan Kroenke is in charge, it's going to be somebody else, and it's going to be somebody established with a big name, and they're going to have 3 letters in their name, and those letters, not for sure, among the candidates, I'll say, will be a person with the initials JVG. So that will be something to watch as we head into the summer with the Denver Nuggets. That's going to wrap up Nuggets talk, because if I talk about the Denver Nuggets anymore tonight, I'm going to explode. Just kidding. I'm doing another Nuggets episode after this. Okay. Let's do some best bets, though, because I love this. Like, we got some good stuff on the slate. Let's go around. We'll give your best bets. I'll give my best bets, and then we will break them down. What are your best bets for Wednesday, April 9th in the association?
I'm going to play 2 totals, Matt. Nuggets Kings over 233.5, and the Warriors Spurs under 235.
Love it. I am going to play the Los Angeles Clippers minus 5.5, the Dallas Mavericks plus 4.5 in Luka's revenge, and I am going to play the Denver Nuggets minus 2.5. So that's what we're going to get to. Before we do those best bets, I do want to let you know that I mentioned off the top of the show that we're coming to you from the Tommy John home studios. That's because great games start with great underwear, and Tommy John's makes the greatest. So I've been hanging out all day in my office, furiously scribbling away, and I've been comfortable all day because I got on my Tommy Johns. So comfortable to hang out in. They've got great stuff for if you're doing workouts. They've got great stuff if you're just hanging out around the house. The t-shirts are so comfortable to sleep in. It's like the most comfortable sleep shirt you're ever going to wear. I swear to God. Like, order a Tommy John's t-shirt and you will be blown away by how comfortable it is to sleep in at night. Unbelievable. It's great for just as an undershirt too. When you're truly comfortable, you do everything better, and that includes betting. So if you love buckets and you love our crew, you're going to love Tommy John. Get 25% off your first order right now at TommyJohn.com/buckets. That's 25% off at TommyJohn.com/buckets. Okay. Let's start with this Nuggets game. So the Nuggets fire their coach. First game without him. The legendary fired coach bump that I will tell you right now is basically it's within a game of being 500 straight up in ATS in the last 10 seasons.
It's fugazi in the NBA.
Yeah. It seems like this thing that's real.
It's real in football, and there's reasons for it.
It's not as real in the NBA.
And there's reasons for it.
And I'm completely buying in on this one. I'm completely buying in on this one. I will tell you that just like speaking to people in the organization, there is an expectation that they're going to come out and play with a fire that was previously missing. And if the Nuggets just play hard, they are a better team than the Sacramento Kings. They are much better. They're trying to stop a 4-game losing streak. Jokic hates losing streaks. They bother him. Not like he's upset. He's just like, come on. And so, while he's always great, and that hasn't met, like, he has 60-10-10, they lost, right? He has all these amazing games and they lose. I do think you're going to see a revitalized effort from the rest of the roster. I do think you're going to see a team that's more connected because of the absence of this tension between the front office and coaching staff. Everybody can get on the same page. They can play a little bit deeper. And I do think that they have enough matchup advantages here to get the job done versus the Sacramento Kings. I make this line based off of my season-long projections. I've got this one. I've got this minus 3.5. So I've got a full point of value. I'm going to play the Denver Nuggets minus 2.5 versus the Sacramento Kings. Bids.
I completely agree. I have the number at 3.1, would still play it. 2.5, could even stretch it out to a smaller play at the 3. To explain the whole coaching fired bump philosophy, when you're in football, the coach gets fired because the players sucked. I mean, that's blanket throughout all of sports. But when you're in football, you have an entire week of practices, scouting reports, specifically game planning for one game, so you could get really focused and locked in. The NBA schedule churns way too fast to actually implement like a big boost in preparation and a big change in the way the team philosophy is going to orchestrate. So the only real bump that you see when a team is dealing with a coach firing, and meanwhile, Sacramento dealt with a coach firing and lost the first game. The Grizzlies, as we spoke about, dealt with a coach firing and lost the first 3 games, I believe. And so Nuggets here, we actually expect to win. The biggest bump that you get when you have the coach firing is players that are questionable are way more likely to play. Like Ja Morant came back and played first game after missing the game right prior when Taylor Jenkins was fired. In this one, I think the injury report is pretty clean. I don't think we're getting Jamal Murray back, but on the other side, you have Malik Monk, you have Keegan Murray questionable. I'm playing the over in this spot because I think the Nuggets offense is really going to start humming and the pace is really going to be there. And I think that despite the emphasis on the defensive stuff, Malone was still a defensive coach. And I still believe that, Christian Brown might say he needs to speak up more defensively. They might be looking to implement more, but I don't expect a big change and a big upgrade of that because the defensive coach got fired. I don't think everyone's going to start being really locked in and paying a lot of attention. So going with all of the model numbers in the spot, going with the perceived way that the injury report's going to break, I think the total should be closer to 235, and I think the spread should be closer to, Nuggets -3, -115, or -3.5, -105. So willing to play the over at 233.5. I also followed Matt with the Nuggets -2.5.
I like the over in this one too, so I've got it at 241 all the way up there. Just from a trends perspective, how about this? Nuggets 54% to the over on the road. Kings are 61% to the over at home. So we're in a really good spot here from a trend standpoint. The number to me seems low. I'm with you absolutely on this overplay. And because we're going to do that, we're going to get a parlay in here. This could be the official parlay of this episode. We're going to do, this is already up to 3, by the way. So we're going to go ahead and lay the 3 at Bet365 over 234.5. And Jalen Pickett, 15.5 PRA. 14.5 PRA. Over 14.5 PRA for Jalen Pickett. That gets us plus 500. Pickett was a divisive, tough issue between Calvin Booth and Michael Malone. That was a very sensitive issue. And while I do expect Russell Westbrook to play good minutes in this one, the team trusts him, despite, everything. Pickett's also going to play. I think you're just going to see Pickett play more, and he's going to play well in this game against these guards. I like the matchup of Pickett versus these guards, and so I like Jalen Pickett over 14.5 points, rebounds, and assists, along with those other two plays. That's plus 500 on a 3-legger. Love that parlay. That's a really good same game parlay. Versus some of the things we can other find. Love that. Also, great note about Bet365 and the hold. That's a great note, Fiddle. You're so good at that stuff. Okay, talk to me about the Warriors and why you like the under in that game.
Warriors and Spurs both playing right now as we speak. Yes, it will matter towards the Warriors tomorrow for seeding stuff against the Spurs. Won't matter for the Spurs at all. So I think you might get some rest that come in. We will see if Steph Curry plays. He's been hit with a lot of this bilateral knee soreness, Matt. So it's a term that I haven't used on buckets this season because we haven't really talked on Steph back-to-backs on times that I've been on. But the Warriors came up with the fanciest term for rest you could possibly imagine for the first half of the season with bilateral knee soreness for Steph. He has played every single back-to-back since Jimmy has joined the team. But now looking at Warrior Suns, seeing them up 33 points in the fourth quarter, knowing that they are going to move up in the standings as a result of this game, knowing that they're still going to be close to double-digit favorites regardless, I think you might end up seeing, a reduced minutes from Steph, a reduced minutes from Jimmy Butler, some asymmetric risk that either of them can be out. And then you look towards models and you look towards season projections. Like, obviously, it's difficult bringing in Spurs and Warriors numbers. My Spurs numbers are skewed too low because of the time Victor Wembanyama was on the court, and my Warriors numbers are also skewed. My Spurs numbers are skewed too low. My Warriors numbers are also skewed too low because of getting Jimmy Butler on the court. So I have this total at close to like 224 if you're just using season data,
right,
which you need to scrap out. But then you start to layer these manual inputs to any model. Is this team going to be on the second leg of a back-to-back? Is there travel spots? Is this a 3-day and 4? What's the injury report? What's the asymmetric risk? And I can't get to the point where you add 11 points to the total. Like, no fucking way.
Right.
So under 235 available at Caesars right now. There's 234.5s across the board. Comfortable with any of it. Best number you could find, probably playable down to like 233 before we get any big news that might shake this line.
I also kind of think teams are kind of not what they are. Like, trades can substantially change you, but it's got to be like multiple components and not just like, oh, we swapped out Andrew Wiggins for Jimmy Butler. Like, you're still the Warriors, right? Yep. Like, you're still that team. I like that angle quite a bit. I like that one as well. What is your what kind of adjustment do you make for a total on the back-to-backs and the rest spots? Because I haven't been able to find a good source for how I should adjust those totals based off of the rest.
So I actually think you saying there's not a good source because there's actually just not a good answer. It's like a total gray zone that becomes matchup dependent, attacking this asymmetric injury risk, especially as we record this, the night before as these games are going on and before we have the news. Like, you generally probably want to play towards unders given the current state of the NBA towards the end of the year, the way some of these injuries goes, and then the news that comes on back-to-backs. But I will say I try and find ways to relate to athletes and put myself in their shoes and say, oh, I understand why this is the case. And so when everyone says bet an under on the second night of a back-to-back, I put myself there and I was like, if I actually had the basketball in my hands, I feel no ounce of being tired. I feel tired when I'm on defense trying to stop it. So maybe there's actually a boost towards the offense in some of those spots because they're all going to be fresh and motivated and you're exhausted with your lactic acid in your legs on defense. So I don't really think there's like a super correlated. Maybe shooting efficiency decreases a little bit. Defensive efficiency decreases a little bit, but it's more matchup based. And for this specific one, I like the under given the asymmetric risk with a bunch of players that might sit.
Okay.
If you travel more, Matt, then I like more unders too.
Okay.
West Coast team traveling east, losing time would be a spot to fade West Coast team.
Okay. I like Clippers minus 5.5. This is already at 6 in a lot of spots. I'm okay with this all the way to 6.5. I'm actually okay with it all the way to 7. If it gets to 7.5, I get a little dicey here. So if you wake up in this is 7.5. The Rockets have clinched the 2. They're done. They have nothing left to play for. That came as a result of the Lakers' loss tonight. The Lakers can't catch them. The Rockets can't catch the Thunder. They have nothing left to play for. Motivation is now 0. They can rest until the playoffs begin. They won't. They'll probably play their guys to keep them in rhythm and because they're competitors and dogs and the whole like. And that's not like fake stuff. That's real. But they have less motivation here than the Clippers, who are scrapping and clawing and trying to dig their way into a playoff spot, which they have a very good chance after the Wolves lost to the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Who was it that gave out the Bucks on the money line on Bucket? Oh, that would be me.
I gave out the Wolves.
That would be me.
Painful.
I gave out Bucks. I thought that line was ridiculous. But okay, so I make this 7.9. So I make this 8. Now a lot of that is like my numbers are basically like the Rockets are adorable. They're not good. But they actually are very good. I don't necessarily love that number, but there's 2 numbers I love here. Let's start with a good old-fashioned narrative play, but this is actually a stats one. What do the Clippers have in Intuit Dome? Michael Fiddle, what is the big thing about Intuit Dome?
The wall?
The wall.
It's real.
Guess who has the lowest free throw percentage in the NBA? The Houston Rockets. Wait, there's more. So I wanted to see if there's actually data behind this, so I took a look at it. The Clippers at home this season, when they face a team that averages less than the season average for made free throws a game, so you make less free throws than the league average, the Clippers are 10-6 straight up, 10-6 ATS, 63% this season. So this is Rockets have nothing to play for. The wall screws with their free throw shooting. We get an extra edge on the Clippers. The Clippers, I don't know if Kawhi's going to play in this one. You never know if he's going to play on the back-to-back. You never know. But they've been good when he's played on those back-to-backs. So I'm all bought in here. Clippers -6, -6.5, -7. That's a best bet.
Yeah, I support that. Played it early, so I completely agree with this. Kawhi is going to play. He skipped the one today against the Spurs, so Excellent. He should be completely good to go. I know you were doing 17 and a half Nuggets shows today, so you might have missed the Kawhi is going to be out. I completely agree. The wall is fascinating. I think we learned that it was a real thing, like right after night 1 when Kevin Durant missed a free throw and then said in the post-game press conference as the Suns were at the Clippers, when the Suns were looking good and the Clippers might be on the wrong side. Boy, have those 2 teams changed. Kevin Durant was like, yeah, the wall's the real deal. And then the last time I checked the stats for it, I think it was around the All-Star break, and I believe the Clippers had the lowest opponent free throw percentage at home in the last like 20 years in the NBA.
It's amazing. Steve Ballmer's the best. Steve Ballmer's absolutely the best. I love that man. I would do anything for Steve Ballmer. Okay, so I like Clippers -5.5, -6 there. All right. Lakers Mavericks, the big one. Lakers play everybody tonight, trying to get that second game versus the Thunder. I thought they were going to rest. My advice was, hey, if the Lakers sit everybody, play the Lakers. I thought they really were. I gave out like, hey, you should bet Thunder if you want the CLV. I don't know if they're going to play guys, but they're likely to not. They decided to play them. So 14.5 was a bad number. But I went ahead and waited, and I played them at -9.5. I gave it I wrote that on the Action Network app. You can read it when you download the app. Because I like the revenge spot. Now I lucked out because Luka got ejected on a nonsense thing, and that's the only reason I won that bet. Bad process. Willing to cop to that. I'm very surprised that they played these guys. So now you got LeBron, who looked pretty gassed tonight, on a back-to-back. All these guys are on a back-to-back. We'll see if Rui plays. I guess Rui's probably going to play in this one. And yes, it's an emotional game. And yes, the Lakers are very likely to win the game. I've crushed the Mavericks. I've crushed their power rating. I've done manual adjustments to just drag them down into the mud. I'm still not able to get to this number based off of how they performed this season. I'm not able to get to this number. I just can't get there. I can't get to Lakers -4.5 on the road. I'm not saying that the Mavericks are good. I just don't think the number is good. And so I'm willing to go ahead and go the other way, in particular because I just think that when you have this much emotion, it's counterproductive. I just don't think it's good. I think for you to be, as a professional athlete, You want to get lots of sleep and have the right meals, and you want consistency in your routine and have the right training. You want consistency and stability, and this is like a lot of emotion. And I'm not saying that Luka's not going to go supernova, because he is. Like, I'm sure he's going to have an incredible game and just absolutely shove it in their faces. But also, I think they can mess with like the team chemistry and flow. Maybe Luka's immune to it because of Luka ball stuff. But it's enough for me to go ahead and take a shot on Mavericks here, +4.5, and I'll sprinkle a little bit on the money line, Fiddle.
Yeah, this is a game I probably wouldn't advise betting based on any current numbers or information. I'm actually fine with either bet on either side at current number, which generally just means a stay away. For me, kind of like the over, but this is going to be a great game to watch. I don't really have many opinions. I thought it was very questionable that the Lakers played their guys tonight because I thought they were circling this one on the calendar. Luka getting ejected means we know Luka's going tomorrow. I feel like we already knew Luka was going to go tomorrow, but he should definitely be in. I think the line might move to 5 on just all of the active news that comes, but it's not going to move that much. Maybe you could still get a little wiggle room towards the over. I will say this, though. I think the environment in Dallas tomorrow is going to be very supportive of Luka. I think he is going to be met with standing ovations. And I'm going to think every single person in that building wants him to score 50 points. And so he didn't leave on bad terms. He was kind of sent out and the fans got mad at the organization. So I think that, look towards the over. It might be narrative. I think it's also numbers. I think it's also market stuff. The line opened at 227. It's up to 228.5 now. And I don't think that's just public schmuck money moving the lines. I don't believe public money really alters the lines. I think books are willing to take positions against the public, especially trying to run and back and over, but we're seeing the line move up, and I think it correlates with the pace that the Mavericks are playing with too. So the only place that I would look is over right now, and I'd probably stay away from all the sides and totals.
I think it's fair. I do kind of like this. It's too narrow. I shouldn't do this. I know I shouldn't do this. I will just say this. I like the over 2. I've got 233. Over 228.5, Mavericks +4.5, Lakers money line. So basically the Lakers win a close game. It's 10-1. I don't hate that. I understand. It's a narrow. I understand it's a narrow band. But
what if you I'm not a fan of these things, but what if you moved the Mavericks number with an alt to like 8.5?
Ooh, let's look at that. Game lines. Surely you'll give me this to me, DraftKings. Surely.
It might be too early, but that's a marquee matchup where they might be pricing
it
already.
The line super early, but they won't let us do an alt on it. So
yeah, the derivative markets. Listen, the derivative markets are very exploitable if they left them up at the wrong times.
We'll see what happens there. All right, that's gonna do it. I've got Mavericks +4.5. Fiddle's got Warriors under 235, and the Nuggets Kings over. I love that play as well. I like Nuggets -2.5. We've got a same game parlay of those two. Nuggets -2.5 over on the game, and Jalen Pickett 14.5 over points, rebounds, and assists. I like Clippers -5.5. Those are your best bets for Wednesday, April 9th in the association. We'll be back tomorrow night with more best bets going into the games on Thursday. On Friday, you'll have the Futures episode with Brandon Anderson, etc. And I believe Jim Churry's on again this week. Sunday, Buckets Live after the NBA regular season ends. Tell a friend. My thanks to David Payne, our producer, Giver Gould, to get this up at youtube.com/theactionnetwork. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.